looking at your defensive rebounding percentage, it's 77.8 according to the league. Last year, your team finished 75.4. By the numbers, your defensive rebounding is better. Maybe 2-3. Is it really? So is the
It's not bad, but by watching the film, it's not even close. I mean, we haven't rebounded in training camp. There's been a major problem, and we're just not. It took us last year 30, 35 games before we started rebounding, and like tonight, if we don't start to hit tonight, I mean, they'll do the same thing they did against Chicago. They had 25 offensive rebounds, and it's hard to win if you don't finish your possessions.
Is the issue
physicality? It's physicality. You got to hit somebody. That's what it is. And when you go up and you get one hand on the ball, you got to snatch it and bring it down. It's pretty simple, actually.
So, Steve, do you think purpose of play, is that something that develops over time, especially early in the season? Because I know you guys worked a lot on that last year. I mean, how do you develop that during the season?
I think a couple things happen, and I mean, is a couple of things. One is the guys spend the whole summer just working on their games, and they do it to make progress, and then all of a sudden you come back. And I do think it's also a product of shortened training camps, which I still think is a good idea. But they go and they work on their games, and then they come back, and then all of a sudden you're saying, yeah, don't do that. That's not the best thing to do. And it's a very fine line. That's what college coaching is all about. I mean, you work on all these things with these guys, then you tell them don't do it, and they say, well, then why are we working on it? And so I think that there's part of that. Frankly, for us right now, our purpose of play has to get better. And I don't usually say this is, we got it's shot making and it's decisions at the rim. Our layup shooting or our layup decisions on when to finish versus when to dribble through or kick it out has really hurt us. And our wide open spot up threes, which I think, again, we have the right guys taking the shots, and I think they'll go in. So we're nowhere near where we need to be, nor are many teams watching. But again, I think sometimes it sounds like a cop-out when you say we're just not making shots that we'll make, but that is a big part of it for us so far.
They got a lot of big bodies on this squad. This isn't the old Knicks. Looking up and down the roster, they have a lot of talent. Will the emphasis tonight be more on rebounding or protecting the paint?
I think it's one-on-one defense, individual defense, defend without fouling. That's where it starts to keep it out of the paint. And then I think it's the rebounding game is a big deal. Free throw game tonight and the rebounding game, I think, would be two big parts of it.
On that physicality point, does the team also have to be more physical offensively as far as trying to create contact or create space? Or
yeah, I mean, but
it's obviously a little different.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, a lot of that that's just, I mean, that's how some guys play and some guys don't. I mean, yeah, I mean, some things are just determined by your personnel, and we don't have a group we're not going to be great at getting to the free throw line. We need to be better, but it's not something that you can, drive the ball harder. Some guys do it their whole lives and other guys don't. So.
What's been your impressions of R.J. Barrett? I mean, have you seen him enough on
I mean, great size, feel for the game. I think with the younger players, the thing that you always look for, to me, it's like when you're recruiting. I recruited for a long time. The first thing you always look for, physical attributes, which he's exceptional, positional size, and then his decision making, which to me is very good. He knows when to drive it. He's got a good feel for where the spaces are. He spins. He can get in through areas where there's not a lot of room there. The things that you can't teach. You don't teach somebody. I mean, people, the guys that, like, when the guy's there and like 1 out of 3 times they charge, they do that when they're 17. They're going to do it when they're 31. He does the opposite. When the guy's there, he spins away and goes over there. That's a big deal. Those are the guys that have, when people say offensive instincts, it's as simple as when the defender's there, they can quickly, instinctively go to space. And that's what I see when I watch him play.
Coach, every team that we've run into, there's been a lot of personnel changes, different people. You guys, on the other hand, you have a lot of continuity of most of your roster, most of your rotation being back. Was that a different thing for you going back to before training camp, how you handled the exhibitions?
Not really. I mean, the biggest thing for me, we didn't have good health. I mean, we didn't have a terrible training camp, nor was it anywhere near what we hoped for. We didn't play great in our exhibition games once people got organized. We didn't rebound well. We haven't been great with our transition defense, and we haven't moved the ball great.
So what happened there could be translating into
100%. No, 100%. I mean, we played, I think, 2 games without Vooch, Evan, and T. Ross. And, again, I think that I'd like to shorten training camp. I think it's better, and yet it does definitely make these first 5, 6, 7 games much more of a crapshoot. So what we have to do is get better on offense, but we're going to have to defend and compete our way through this. And part of the competing part is going to be the rebounding game, and that's what's going to be so critical tonight.
But we're seeing teams try to take away Markel's ability to get in the paint. In preseason, he got there a lot. The first game, he got there. Are they going under to deter that?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going under, but I mean, I think that's, again, it's as teams have gotten more organized, that's what they're going to do. I think with him, to be honest with you, because of his size and he understands when to pass the ball, I don't think the under is going to be a big problem for him.
So what's going to be the primary focus for you tonight when you look at this team going up against the Knicks?
Well, just what I said. I mean, I think it's going to start with our individual defense. They got a lot of guys that are super aggressive to play on the attack. You got to be able to defend them without fouling. And then I think it's the rebounding game. The game. I watched 3 of their games, and they're big, they're physical, and they were all over the glass.
Coach, you mentioned a couple times last year, you hinted that Jonathan Isaac is so much more capable in offense than sometimes we saw because you have so many other veterans and you asked him to do so much on the defensive end. How big was that for him to break out against a player like Pascal Monday night? And are you looking for that more from him this year for Jonathan, looking for a shot and being aggressive? Yeah,
at both ends. And I think the lesson to be learned if you were a younger player watching, he had 25, he had 1 play call. And I mean, like, the thing that he did that he can do, and this, I think sometimes younger players don't understand. This is what you don't get that you got 7, 8 years ago. Guys understood when they got in this league. What he did the other night was he moved without the ball better. He found open areas, So all of his shots were spot ups. They weren't on the move. He wasn't having to shoot it quickly. He found the open area. The ball got to him, and he knocked in shots. And he's not going to go 5 for 7 from 3 every night. But his activity that he had at the offensive end and purpose of play was the same thing that allowed him to play so well defensively.
Everyone good?
Thank you.